right, we are on the big live screen. What is going on, everyone? Let me make sure that this live stream is going out to the places that it needs to go. I'm so happy to be here. I've been working like a dog this week. I wanted to go live much earlier, but you know, we gotta do what we gotta do. But I said, screw it. I want to have some fun. And so here we are. Let me see. Metabolism. All right. Yeah, this is gonna be a good one. I basically was studying lesson 4 in the mucus diet healing system, came across some really interesting thoughts, and was like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna talk about that. So let's actually get straight into it. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is JC. I have been practicing the mucus diet healing system for over 4 years, and I study under the world's leading expert in the practice, Professor Spira. So I am also the chief media manager for the organization which he created, Mucus Free Life. And Mucus Free Life is focused on preserving and sharing the work of Professor Eric. So the first thing that we have to get on the same page on before we can get into today's topic is, what is the mucusless diet healing system? So remember that man, Professor Arnold Ehret, that I just named? He's the one that created it. And so Ehret pretty much spent decades of his life experimenting on himself and helping thousands of people using something called the mucusless diet, which is a diet that consists of raw or cooked, fat-free, and starch-free fruits and vegetables paired with short or long periods of fasting. And he ultimately came to the belief, the conclusion, that the foundational cause for all human ailments, all human suffering, is obstruction. So from head to toe, our bodies are obstructed by a mucus-like slime, harmful acids and toxic residues from drugs, as well as other ways. And so the big question is how did this obstruction find its way into my body? And our answer to that is that you unknowingly ate obstruction-forming foods. So foods that decay into a mucus-like slime are all plant-based starches, so grains, beans, cereals, etc., and all plant-based fats, so nuts, seeds, oils, olives, avocado. I know, the poster boy of like plant-based diet. It's a mucus form. Doesn't mean you can't have it, but we'll go into that later. Anything that is an animal or is from an animal produces or decays into a mucus-like slime inside of your body, and it also produces or decays into really harmful acids. And then all recreational, doesn't matter if you smoke it, doesn't matter if you snort it, as long as it's entering your body in some way or form, all recreational drugs and prescription drugs are the culprits for the toxic drug residues. So unlike mainstream diets, which are just food lists that allow or prohibit certain foods, this system is centered around gradually and safely removing this obstruction from your body. So you're slowly and safely removing the obstruction. And this is mainly done by gradually changing your diet, by using less harmful natural whole foods like fruits and vegetables to help you transition away from the most harmful, greasy, ultra-processed obstruction-forming foods. And this is paired along with short or long periods of fasting and other natural therapies like exercise, sunbathing, etc. So we're on the same page about that. Now, before we go any further, I want to let it be known that I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional, And nothing I share in this live stream is medical advice. I am not diagnosing, treating, or curing anything, nor am I making the claim that I am doing any of these things or that the mucusless diet healing system can do any of these things. Everything I'm about to talk about comes from my personal study and the practice of the mucusless diet healing system, meaning that it's entirely educational. We're just sharing theories, we're just sharing perspectives. And I'm not telling you what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, or what you need to do. My goal is to present ideas, compare theories. And you can think of a theory as a simple explanation for why something happens based on what we have observed so far. And sometimes these explanations are rigorously tested and revised. That's science right there, right? And I'm doing this so you can come to your own conclusion of what is going to be useful for you on your health journey. And if you have any health concerns, any symptoms or medical conditions, you should always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes. So with that being said, you will be forced to rethink the human body. Metabolism versus obstruction, two explanations to the same human problem. So what is that problem? Well, the problem that we'll be tackling today is why is there no one-size-fits-all diet that consistently produces better health? My goal is to compare how the theory of metabolism, yes, metabolism is a theory, and Professor Arnold Ehret's theory of body types, those two theories, how would they answer this question? And then what I want you to do is I want you to come up with your own answer to the following question. I'm giving you work. I know this. You can't just lay back and fully let go. You got to be engaged. So the question that I want you to answer is, what theories and concepts are more useful at helping me achieve better health? I didn't come up with that question. The person who did will get their flowers towards the end of this video. I wanted to let it be known right now that I am not going to be unpacking either theory at a PhD level. That's not what we're doing here. It's an introductory overview because I know for some people, it's going to be their first time like really hearing about or having either theory explained to them. So I just want this to be a fair representation of both at a beginner level that explains them clearly using simple explanations and visual aids to make concepts easier to understand. So now that we're on the same page, let's get into it. I am so stoked to show you what we got going on here. So to begin, let's get an understanding of nutrition-based thinking in a nutshell, right? And how it believes you would achieve better health in the context of what and how you should eat. So what I am about to share with you guys is I've been working on this. This is a part of the Transition Diet 101 course. It is going to be sweet when it's in its final form. Okay, so nutrition-based thinking. In a nutshell, this is how nutrition-based thinking goes as it relates to what and how to eat. So food adds to the body what it is missing because food has life-giving substances. You know these substances is vitamins, minerals, calories, proteins, fats, carbs, etc. You normally call them nutrients. And so these nutrients act as building blocks and fuel for the body. So by that logic, we need to eat the best foods because the best foods will give us the best nutrients, the best building blocks, the best fuel for our body. What are the best foods? Still figuring that out. That's one of the things that virtually all diets disagree on is what are those best foods. That's why there are so many diets. But all of those diets pretty much all agree that if you eat the foods that they believe to be the best, it will directly result in better health. So that, in a nutshell, is nutrition-based thinking. All right? We're all on the same page. This is the foundation of which we stand on as we now talk about metabolism. So let's bring it back to me, the money shot. What's happening, y'all? All right, let me pull up my notes again. So, nutrition based thinking as it relates to diet is essentially focused on continuously adding to the body what it needs, what is essential for it to continue living. Oh, so from this perspective, better health from diet comes from supplying the body with the right amount of fuel and nutrients, but doing so from the best foods, which no one can seem to agree on. So then, what on earth is metabolism, and how does it fit into all this? Well, it's common for someone to describe themselves as having a fast or slow metabolism. And in my experience, I usually encounter this in casual settings. And what they're trying to communicate to me as, at least that's what I'm trying to understand, is if they have a fast metabolism, their body breaks down whatever they eat and uses it incredibly fast. So they never gain any weight. And then people with slow metabolisms are usually communicating to me that their body breaks down food a lot slower, and so it tucks it away in their body as fat to be broken down later. So that right there is already an answer to our question. There is no one size fits all diet because everyone's body processes food and uses the energy it receives from that process differently. But my question is do these people have an accurate understanding of metabolism? Because if they don't, then their answer is wrong. And the answer to my question, as it relates to how accurate their understanding is, eh, it's okay. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I know metabolism because I don't. I don't know it like the back of my hand. I'm liable to get something wrong in my representation, and my goal here is to represent it well. So if I mess up, please in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this later, write something that corrects me so it properly represents it, because I want people to have a proper representation so they can make the best choice for themselves. So let's go into the representation of metabolism that I will be bringing to the table. So metabolism can be seen simply as the body's energy system. In other words, it's how your body transforms the nutrients you eat into the energy you need to function, powering everything from your heartbeat, your digestion, your ability to move. This is why, like in the diagram earlier, food is considered to have these life-giving substances, because once your body can actually extract those life-giving substances and use them, now they're the fuel that we said here powers your heartbeat, your digestion, your ability to move. A more scientific way to understand metabolism is the sum of all the chemical reactions to convert food into its usable energy. First time I heard that, I said, please speak English. So that is a more simple way to understand things. So from this viewpoint, differences come from how efficiently the body turns food and its life-giving substances into usable energy. So that right there, we're already seeing why a one-size-fits-all diet can't really exist, because how efficiently your body breaks down food into usable energy is going to be different from person to person. All right, metabolism, I hear you. And the next thing we're going to go into is the role of calories and macronutrients. So the theory of metabolism frames food primarily in terms of calories. So units of energy you can get from this food, and macronutrients. So carbs, fats, proteins, again, both of these things are part of the life-giving substances, which the body extracts from the food and then uses to continue living and function like it's supposed to. It's not just about counting calories, though, but it's about understanding how each macronutrient has a different effect on the process of metabolism. So, for example, think of food as like fuel for a fire, right? Carbs can be seen as quick energy sources. So, they would be like paper or kindling. They light really fast, but they burn just as fast. Fats are dense. They're they're like big logs, right? There'd be longer burning fuel. So you just ugh, fire takes it over, go down, lay down. That thing's gonna be burning for a long time, way faster than the carbs. And then protein, it's not really fuel first. It's more like building materials. Your body can burn it, but it's not protein's main job. It's mainly used for like building and repair. So what comes to mind is kind of like if you have a hammer with like a wooden handle, you just kind of like take off the metal part and just throw it in the fire, and you're like, I probably shouldn't have done that. You know, I kind of need that hammer. Anyway, so that being said, the same food can produce different results depending on how that person's metabolism handles those macronutrients. So, for example, even if two people eat the same meal, the same number of calories, and the same amounts of proteins, carbs, and fats, one person's body may use that energy right away. It'll burn it extremely quickly or process it into usable energy extremely quickly. And immediately, boom, you're going to the heart, you're going to digestion, you're going to the brain, whatever the body's got to do with it. The other person, though, their body will break down that food less efficiently, and it might not even need the energy right away. So it'll just take it, the usable energy, and be, you know what, let's turn you into fat, put you away in the tissues. Now it's later use energy. So at this point, I was starting to see how the statement of every person's body is different is true from a metabolism perspective at a beginner level, which was again starting to make me realize like the one size fits all diet thing it's not happening with not in the metabolism realm at least. But we still have like one more layer to go through. And the next will be how we explain how our bodies are different from one another through something called the metabolic rate. So mainstream metabolism acknowledges that individuals have different metabolic rates. But what is that? Metabolic rate can be seen at the rate of which your body uses energy. So for someone's body that metabolizes and burns energy faster, that's usually someone that would describe himself as having a fast metabolism, a fast metabolic rate. Their body uses energy fast. So as a result, they remain lean a lot more easily because there's no leftover energy to store away as fat. While other people's bodies might have a tendency to store energy more willingly, more easily, and they gain weight more quickly as a result. And so this is what having a slow metabolism or metabolic rate looks like. This is a tongue twister, man. Say metabolism 10 times fast. So don't do that. So someone might think of it as kind of like a gamble of genetic lottery if you get the slim genes or the slim fast metabolic rate genes. But it's not just genetics, right? There's things like activity level, muscle mass, sleep, stress, age. They all change how your metabolism is going to behave. So it's not just like this universal thing. And like, duh, otherwise people's bodies wouldn't have this whole like metabolism slows down as you get older consciousness, which at least I'm aware of that growing up. I remember people saying it's like, look, enjoy your youth because when you get older, it's way harder to take off these pounds. And that's like pretty much metabolism's main explanation for why there's no one size fits all diet that consistently produces better health. Because everyone's metabolic rate, the metabolism, all the variables that affect it are different. So the metabolism answer is just focused right here for you. There is no one size fits all diet that consistently produces better health because different bodies have different energy needs. And even when people eat the same foods, their bodies are going to process the same calories and the same macronutrients differently. Therefore, diets need to be individualized and adjusted to better meet a person's specific energy and nutrient needs. Okay, metabolism. Great answer. So, how can I use this theory, this explanation for the observable world that has been tested rigorously to achieve better health? And simple answer is by balancing energy in, energy out. So, from metabolism perspective, maintaining health and body weight often comes down to balancing the energy you consume with the energy you expend. So, I'm eating energy, fuel in the form of food, and I want that intake to keep up with how much my body is using. It's like a balancing game. So if a diet isn't working for someone, the assumption here is generally that something in that balance is off. Are you taking in too much energy, and how much is that, and how much is being used? Is a lot being used or not a lot being used? How is the body regulating this balancing process? So let's wrap this up. Let's wrap up metabolism. In this theory, health is largely about how efficiently the body uses the energy it gets from food and whether it's receiving the right balance of nutrients to keep its systems running properly. If the body can take in food, convert it to usable energy, and regulate how that energy is used or stored, then health is generally maintained, right? That balancing game. When problems arise, they're often explained as issues with energy regulation. So, too much energy is coming in, not enough is being used, right? You're overeating and you're just sitting down all day. Or the body's struggling to manage that process of balancing because things like hormonal issues, for example. Cool. Done with metabolism. Again, I'm not an expert on metabolism at all, never claimed to be. My goal was to just represent the theory of metabolism with integrity at a beginner level so that you have a proper example to contemplate on, to think about. And when you come, so you can come to your own conclusion about the question, what theory and concepts are more useful at helping me achieve better health? So that is my representation of metabolism. You see what's happening. Oh, we got a whole little party. What's going on? Hey, Sarthak, my man, got the whole presentation ready. Yes, sir. Desiree, what's going on? Hello, hello. Oh, I can't show the other one, but we got my aunt. Love you, Titi. La bendición. All right, all right. Let's go to the next thing, shall we? So, gotta go to the top of my notes here. So just like I did with nutrition-based thinking, I need to explain to you Eric's perspective, right? We got the metabolism theory explanation, but now we need Professor Arnold Ehret's body types explanation for why there is no one size fits all diet that consistently produces better health. So I need to explain to you where Professor Arnold Ehret is coming from in his perspective on how to achieve better health, just like I did with nutrition. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, is when we get into the come on now. Come on now. My bad, y'all. I am still learning this one. Ah, there it is. Okay. All right, Eric's perspective. Cool. Okay, so from Professor Arnold Ehret's perspective, our bodies are obstructed from head to toe with a mucus-like slime. Harmful acids, that picture right there is of uric acid crystals. So when uric acid crystallizes in the body, that's how it looks, and toxic residues from drugs. And these obstructions find their way into our body when we eat obstruction-forming foods. So the obstruction-forming foods are responsible for the mucus-like slime and the harmful acids. And then recreational, prescription, toxic substances are responsible for the harmful drug residues in our body. So this obstruction, from Professor Arnold Ehret's perspective, is foreign matter. So material that never belonged in our body in the first place. And it's this obstruction that Ehret witnessed leave his body. And it's the same obstruction I saw leave my body and all the people that practice mucus-like healing system as well. But this obstruction that he saw leave his body led him to the conclusion that the foundational cause for all human ailments, all human disease, is this obstruction. And so most diseases, if left untreated, generally result in death. And so from Ehret's perspective, when someone eats obstruction-forming foods, plant-based starches, plant-based fats, anything that is an animal or from an animal, prescription or recreational toxic substances, that is how the obstruction finds its way into our body. And this obstruction, from Ehret's perspective, is the foundational cause for all ailments, all disease, all human suffering. And diseases, if left untreated, can lead to death. Now, again, I'm not claiming that the mucus diet healing system can cure disease or anything like that. I'm simply just sharing what a book is what I read from a book visually. That's all I'm sharing with you. The perspective that book gave me. So that's one direction, right? Obstruction as it leads to death. So then what's the other direction, right? So by that logic of obstruction leads to death, then unobstructing the body, removing foreign matter, this material that was never supposed to be in the body in the first place, this mucus-like slime, these harmful acids, these toxic residues from drugs, would result in better health. So by that logic, Professor Arnold Ehret's perspective is that the removal of obstruction directly results in better health. It is not eating the best foods without rhyme or reason, any combination that you want, whenever you want, directly leads to better health. And this is the fundamental difference between metabolism and Professor Arnold Ehret's body type theory. They are coming from two different foundations. So on the left, you have the box of nutrition-based thinking. This is where 99.99% of the world exists, in that box, as it relates to thinking about how they think about eating and diet. The mucusless diet healing system, Professor Arnold Ehret, all of that is completely separate from nutrition. So gonna get quite a different answer as a result. Okay, so just keeping that in mind, let's go back to me. Okay, pulling up the notes again. So right away, we know that this answer to the one size fits all diet problem is going to be way, way different. And so I want to go straight to an authority on the mucusless diet healing system, Professor Spirit, the world's leading expert on the practice, and break down for you guys what he shares in his video introduction to Professor Arnold Ehret's fat and lean body type categorization. It's the first of a 4-part video series where and in this video, he's just introducing the body type theory. In the other 3 videos, he goes way deeper. So what I'll be sharing with you guys is my notes. I tried to capture as accurately as possible what Spirit's saying, at least my understanding of it, and my thoughts that expand upon what is being shared. So, physiological types. What is that? To put it simply, everyone's body has different internal conditions. Everyone's. So the same foods are not going to affect everyone's body the same way. Like that is the core answer that Eric would give I want to say Eric would give, but that's like the core answer to why there's no one size fits all diet that consistently produces better health. Internal conditions can be thought of as the amount of obstruction in your body, right? Do you have a lot or just a little bit? The type of obstruction in your body. Do I have more of a mucus-like slime? Do I have a lot of harmful acids and just a little bit of mucus-like slime? Do I have toxic residues from drugs? Do I have a lot of all 3 of those? Do I only have a small amount? What type of obstruction is this? Where is that obstruction located? Do I have a lot of that mucus in my kidneys and a lot of harmful acids in my digestive tract? Is it in my tongue? Is it in my eyes? Where is it all? And the health and conditions of your organs and glands. So are my lungs extremely weak? Is my liver extremely weak, but my kidneys are super strong? Everyone's internal condition of their body completely unique to them. And right there, everyone's body is different. So from this viewpoint, differences don't come from how food is processed, how it's burned, but from what the food encounters once it enters into the body. So Eric introduces 2 body types. And at first I treated this as black or white. And I'm going to show you that real quick here. I'm kind of digging this whole presentation thing. This is really fun. So anyway, Professor Arnold Ehret, he gives you 2 body types. And this is how I understood it. Okay, this might not be how people understood it, but it was the mucus/fat type or the uric acid/lean type. And so what is being communicated here is that this person's body is going to be way more obstructed by this nasty, solid, like mucus-like slime. It's not mucus from the mucous membrane. That's often a misconception. This is a mucus-like slime that comes from eating foods which are unnatural to the body, so the body can't digest it. So they literally just putrefy and decay inside of us because it's organic matter. Like it's food. It's going to break down. It doesn't matter if it's inside of you or outside of you. And and though we eliminate it, like we have bowel movements, the residues, the leftover stuff that your body wasn't able to eliminate, and you can't say you perfectly eliminate everything, otherwise like constipation wouldn't exist. So these residues that get left behind, they just continue to decay and putrefy and turn into the slime. And so when you have a lot of that in your body, you would be called a mucus/fat type. Your internal conditions would have obstructions with the nature of this. Then on the other side, you got the uric acid lean types. Again, for those that just came in, this picture right here is uric acid. So uric acid is like a byproduct of eating meat. And this is it when it crystallizes. So when people suffer from gout, which is really, really not a fun thing, you literally have like these crystals just like built up in the joints and become super inflamed, and it's just a shame, man. It's a shame. But with the body types of people that are considered uric acid or lean, they won't look so big, so fat like the person with the mucus body type. They're going to be really thin, but their body is just like completely saturated with this super acidic, highly concentrated toxic waste. And yeah, so we'll get into that a bit more. So this is how it was first presented to me, and this is how, at least this is how I first understood it, right? So Professor Arnold there, boom, fat type, and uric acid lean type keeps it moving. Professor Spira, he helped me out a lot, and he presented it more on a spectrum, right? So let me pull up my notes really quick so I give this a proper representation. So Professor Spira teaches to view your body on a spectrum with the two body types. So the fat/mucus type and the lean/uric acid type on opposite ends of the spectrum. Your reactions to food can change as we remove harmful obstructions, thus changing the internal conditions of your body. So we may start with a body that's really, really, really encumbered with lots of mucus, tons and tons of mucus. And so you might be pretty fat. And that's kind of where I was coming from, honestly. Because I ate a lot of rice and beans. I mean, if I even just like looked at food the wrong way, I gained it. It was insane. Let me do that. But anyway, this is where I was at. I was more over here. But I did eat meat. Like I did eat foods that decayed and turned into this uric acid. So as I started to, well, so when I first started my practice, because my body was closer to the uric acid, or sorry, it's the mucus fat type, I would have, my body would react to food in the way that a mucus/fat type would. Now, I'm not getting into the nuances of that because this is introductory. But as I got more and more of the mucus out of me, I started noticing that I started to actually react to food how my friends were. And my friends were uric acid/lean types. And I was like, whoa, okay, I see it. I see what you guys are going through. And then as I would get cleaner and I would start to deal with more of the mucus again, I would start to deal with my body would start to react to ways that I was more familiar with. And then I'd go back to the lean type stuff, but it wouldn't be as extreme. And then I'd go back to the fatter mucus. So as you get cleaner, you kind of just reach this like middle balancing point. Anyway, I think I'm getting ahead of myself, but just so you guys understand, I might leave this up too for a little bit, just so viewers can kind of understand this body type thing. All right, back to it. So what this means though is that what works really well for someone in the beginning, because they come in with a lot of mucus and fat, might not work as well a few weeks later, because you get rid of a lot of the mucus and fat that was ready to be eliminated. And then all of a sudden, this new waste surfaces from your tissues, right? Because you got waste that's on the surface ready to go. You got a lifetime of wrong eating behind you, right? So you got all this waste in your tissue systems, and now it's like, oh, my turn. All right. So again, you start off with a lot of mucus and fat, then the acids start coming out. So the way that they're going to respond to food changes because their internal conditions change as they become cleaner. So as a result, the same foods can start producing different reactions than they did before. But this is not the food's fault. That's the most important thing that I don't really see understood. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm not saying that from a derogatory way. Just something I've noticed. What is changing is what the food encounters once it gets inside of the body. And that's why the reactions are different, right? So it's what is the food encountering? That is what is going to change how the body reacts. And that is why you can't have a one-size-fits-all diet that produces consistently better health, because everyone's internal conditions are different, right? But I'm honestly like, we still got some really fun stuff to discuss here, because I'm not done, baby. So with the mucus fat type, it's really easy for this body type to put on weight. And they're mainly starch eaters. It doesn't mean they don't eat meat or other animal products. Like, for example, like I was saying earlier, I am a mucus type. I grew up eating rice and beans almost every single night. And sometimes I'd have pretty good portions. You know, my breakfasts were mainly cereals, so just tons of wheat. And for those of you that don't know, starches decay, they putrefy into a mucus-like slime, and it's this mucus-like slime which which is tucked away into the tissue system as fat. Now, this is an interesting thing, which like a nuance which I didn't really uh, catch on to until I really started to go through this video again. Um, it's something that I've actually disagreed with before. I was like, is that really true? I want to say disagree. It's just more, I was like, really? That's how it is? But as I went through the video series, I realized like, oh, no, that there's actually a good case for that. So what this thing is that the waste produced by the obstruction forming foods is broken down and incorporated into the organism as the fat. So there's what the food decays and breaks down into, and then how does the body deal with that waste? So again, it's another reason why one size fits all diet that consistently produces better health from the mucus diet healing system perspective. We're like, I don't really know if that's going to happen. So this fat slash mucus type, this is what metabolism theory would call someone with a slow metabolism. Then over here, we have the uric acid lean type. So they're often slendered body, right? And they're often eaters of meat heavy diets. Doesn't mean they don't have starch, but meat, or at least animal products of some shape or form, like dairy, for example, you know, butter, yogurt, sour cream, etc., they're present in almost every meal and are usually in the largest quantities of those meals. So Spira says that the waste produced by obstruction forming foods are broken down in a uric acid lean type body into highly concentrated toxic waste, almost as though the waste is being acidified, turned into this toxic concentrated acid and incorporated into the organism that way, right? So one body takes the obstructions that are created by wrong foods putrefying inside of us and turns it into fat and then tucks it away in the tissues. And then the uric acid lean type, what they do is their body has a tendency to just turn this stuff into toxic concentrated acid. And so as a result of our unique body type differences, which are mainly our unique internal conditions and the way our body tends to break down food, the every person's practice of the mucus diet healing system is gonna look different. The menus, what they're eating, is gonna look different. And it's again, it's because of those variables. And this is why we would say, from a mucus diet healing system perspective, there cannot be one universal diet that consistently produces better health. But to be like totally real and upfront, like we are skipping a lot of nuances because that could really explain like this perspective better. Because my goal is just to keep this at an introductory level. Maybe I got a bit carried away and got into the details, into the weeds. I get excited. Can you blame a guy? I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of this stuff. So yeah, my goal is to keep it at an introductory level, especially for people who've never heard about the mucus diet healing system. But sometimes I just want to grab you by the wrist and go, "Let's go!" You know, we're back on path. All right, let's keep it pushing. So lean. Oh, let me fix this. Lean slash uric acid body types, they're a bit more toxic than the fat types. And the leans, like the lean uric acid body types, are thought to have a high metabolism. So someone who has a high metabolic rate, they use the energy more quickly. And the thing is that high metabolisms are generally thought to be a good thing. You know, basically you won the lottery because you can eat whatever you want and you cannot gain any weight. You're remain slender, beautiful. But Spirit says, do not be deceived. Everything in the pus and mucus world is backward. And when he's talking about the pus and mucus world, kind of talking about literally the world, because the outside world, remember, the original. Let me bring this back. So we're all on the same page here, right here. Bam, bam, bam. Check this out. This right here, fundamentally different, right? Fundamentally different. We're here, they're over here. So the pus and mucus world exists here, and their thinking is literally keep adding to the body what it needs to live. We're saying remove from the body what it doesn't need, what is unnecessary, so you can produce better health. So anyway, getting a bit off topic. So Spirit says, do not be deceived by high metabolism, right? Everything in the pus and mucus world is backward, because appearing healthy on the outside doesn't mean the inside is clean. And so he says that the karma of having a high metabolism, aka being a lean / uric acid type with lots of highly acidic waste stored away in your system, means a less enjoyable transition. Now let's unpack that, because that was a lot. So when you begin your diet, your transition of diet away from the most harmful foods by using less harmful natural whole foods like fruits and vegetables, these foods will help your body in its efforts to unobstruct itself. Versus the foods which you were eating almost exclusively, not your fault, that were just always obstructing your body. So the old waste in your digestive tract, the old waste which is tucked away in your tissue system, is now being loosened and dissolved because these fruits and vegetables are helping unobstruct your body. So because of the toxic nature of the waste of someone that has the uric acid lean body type, it's going to produce a generally less enjoyable experience as it leaves your body, that toxic waste as it leaves your body. And from Eric's perspective, the problem isn't the food, it's not the fruits or vegetables, it's how much and the nature of the waste being mobilized, the waste being loosened and dissolved. Because of its more toxic nature, it's going to produce less enjoyable experience as it leaves your body. Now, the question is like, how so? So imagine someone that eats lots of seafood in their life, like me. I really, really like seafood. Just think about fish for a second, right? Like you fish, pull it out. It already smells like really bad. I've never just gotten a fish out of the water and just been like, oh, it smells like roses. Like, no, it smells bad. It's slimy. And I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. Like, I'm just trying to share the reality of fishing. Like I said, I loved seafood when I was younger. I did my fair share of fishing and dealing with that stuff. So once you cook it, right? Once you cook the fish and you eat it, from the perspective of the mucus diet healing system, you're not actually like digesting anything. It's unnatural to the body. So your body was never designed to eat it. And so the fish meat, whatever you weren't able to expel from the body via bowel movement, is just putrefying and decaying inside of your body. And anything that is an animal or comes from an animal, seafood included, or sea animals included, decays into an incredibly toxic mucus-like slime, and it also decays and forms really harmful acids. And so if you have a lean body type, your body then takes this waste and further breaks it down into an acid, from my understanding of Professor Spear's video. Could be wrong on that. And that acid is then stored away in your body. So imagine that acidic waste stays in your body for like 20 to 30 years, right? This undigested fish residue. It's organic matter. For that reason, it will continue to putrefy while still being inside of your body over this period of time, over this 20, 30 years. Then instead of exclusively eating foods which obstruct your body, you learn how to eat in a way that unobstructs your body. Find the mucosal healing system. So now your body actually has a chance to finally eliminate this old toxic waste. So rather than continuously storing new waste being introduced through wrong eating, this old waste is now coming out. Imagine how old fish residues that are 20 to 30 years old, that have been like rotting, putrefying inside of your body for 20 years. Imagine the effect that would have on living tissue once it gets brought into circulation to then be detoxed or eliminated from your body. I'm imagining something, again, this is just imagination, I don't really know. I'm imagining something like more acidic than battery acid. Something so putrid that if I was able to smell it, my nose hairs would just sear right off, just light up. But that is the waste that is in circulation. That is the waste that as it circulates is, and to be filtered out via the kidneys, is disturbing all of the bodily tissues that it touches, poisoning all of the bodily fluids that it comes in contact with, until it is 100% eliminated, expelled, removed from my body, right? And so for this reason, that the nature of the waste in the lean slash uric acid type is so acidic. Spira is traditionally really conservative with his recommendations to these people. So I think before we continue, let me just bring it back to the money shot. What's happening now? So like I said, Spira is really conservative with his recommendations to people of the uric acid body type. This means they're recommended to eat foods that more slowly loosen and dissolve waste. This is because we do not want to overburden the body with extremely toxic waste, especially not in the beginning when it is already not that efficient at expelling or eliminating waste. Because again, our bodies are obstructed head to toe. This mucus like slime, harmful acids, toxic residues from drugs. Most people's bodies is just like barely hanging on by a thread. We can't overburden it. That's very dangerous. And so this slow approach, it allows for longevity of practice because it creates the opportunity for a way more enjoyable experience of the mucus diet healing system. And I say that because I often hear that people don't really enjoy their practice that much, and I don't blame them. Like if you don't enjoy the foods that you're eating, it's so much easier for you to abandon your practice when things get hard. Um, and you can't. Again, the book's hard. The book can be a hard read for a lot of people. I needed the help of experts, and even then, I still studied a lot. And we're trying to make it easier for people with the Transition Diet 101 course, which is on the way. First week of February. So the issue is, though, that people oftentimes, they're not moving at the pace their body needs them to go for them to feel comfortable. And to do that, you have to be eating the right foods based on your body's current internal conditions. And like we talked about earlier, as your internal conditions change, the foods that you're going to eat need to change as well, because your body, what food encounters when it goes inside of your body is pretty much going to determine how your body is going to react. So it's never the food's fault. It's how the waste inside of your body is reacting to the food. So most people, they just force their body to move at the pace they want to go all of the time. Right? Like they just jump into a straight fruit diet because I need to become clean overnight. That's extremely, extremely dangerous. And in Professor Spira's experience, the lean slash uric acid body type they have a tendency to do that. So these are people that actually need to go slow though. So it's not uncommon to see them want to do really long fasts, 30-day fast, 60-day fast, 3, 4, 5 months fast. They want to go 100% to the raw fruit dieting. They want to skip over this slow, safe change of diet from the most harmful foods to the less harmful foods. Uh, you know, if you don't understand Eric's perspective, if you're just coming from nutrition based thinking, which is that eating the best foods will result in better health, there's no concept of obstruction inside your mind and how that obstruction affects how your body will react to different foods. So, that right there is just like one reason why transition of diet is so important for longevity of practice, and that safety in the person taking on the practice of the mucus society healing system. I can't emphasize that enough. So towards the end, I'm still going through Spirit stuff. I went on a long just sharing of my own thoughts. Spirit speaks about his hope for this video series. He hopes that people better understand how we mucus society healing system practitioners view physiology. And you can think physiology simply as what your body does and how it does it. The most important point he's making, though, is that we're not framing this as the end all be all. We're just sharing theories, the best explanations for what's going on and what we've observed so far. And like I said earlier, like we're not the only theory. All of this is theory. I've consistently said the theory of metabolism. Metabolism is just an explanation. Yes, it has been rigorously tested and studied, but it's just the best explanation that we have for what's going on based on what we've observed so far. Body mass index, BMI, that's a theory. The ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph body types, that's a theory. These explanations for body types we're presenting, it's just a theory. So it's just explanations for what's going on, the best ones that we have. And I'm aware that I am simplifying the definition of the word theory. But again, it's just trying to put these things in a way that the average person can understand. And if you want it to be more on like a PhD level, then like I invite you, take everything that I brought to the table and just like dive deeper on it and learn what I chose not to share here. So after all that, for that entire thing, Spirit then asked one of the most brilliant questions I've ever heard, and it's where I got the question which I asked in the beginning of the video. What theories and concepts are useful? And what theories and concepts are not useful and need to be discarded? And from there, he just starts ripping. Oh my God, he starts ripping into theories that need to be discarded. And one of them is the protein theory. So the idea that you need to continuously eat high protein foods to experience better health. According to Big Man, that one's got to go. It's harmful and it's not useful at producing better health. Now, if that made you feel upset, made you feel uncomfortable, made you feel confused, or maybe even felt like it was a personal attack, you went to like a immediate state of denial that no, protein theory, what are you talking about? Then if you have the slightest bit of openness to hearing out another perspective on protein, I invite you to watch Professor Spiro's What Caused You to Believe in the Protein Theory, History of the Protein Concept, taught by Professor Spiro. He basically like holds your hand through the history of the idea of protein and the creation of the word protein. And he basically just guides you to where we're at modern day with protein. And the shocker is that the history of the concept is not nearly as long as you think. And the way it was popularized is definitely not how you thought it would have become popular. But very eye-opening, very eye-opening. So anyway, after ripping into all those theories, he's saying that from the perspective, from the understanding of those that believe in the theories of the mucus diet healing system as the most useful, these other harmful theories need to be discarded. So again, revisiting this differences in the foundation of thought. Let me get this right here. What we're focused on is not which theory is right, which explanation is more right. We're focused on what theories, what understandings and explanation of the world can provide real time help in understanding how to transition yourself away from the most harmful foods on the planet. Because even the metabolism theory perspective, which comes from nutrition based thinking, which is completely opposite from the Erit perspective, it believes that eating the wrong foods can totally mess up how your body functions because you're not getting the right nutrients that your body needs, right? And that could have a direct negative impact on your health. So, Spira believes that understanding if you're more of a mucus type, if you're more of an acid type, that will help you right now to create a proper menu plan that is specialized for your unique internal body conditions and your body type so that you can safely and slowly remove the harmful obstructions you have in your body so you can experience better health. If you don't understand this right here and you don't understand the body type theory and you try to mix the calorie theory, yes, calories are a theory as well. The vitamin theory, vitamins are a theory as well. Metabolism theory, protein theory, etc., which is all from this stuff. You try to mix it here, something that doesn't exist in this box, and the fundamental, the foundational way of thinking is just completely different. At the very best, it's gonna cause a lot of unnecessary suffering and chaos. At the worst, it just like straight up doesn't work. Um, and again, that's my opinion, right? Like other practitioners think differently. I'm one of the few practitioners that would be like really, really, really in alignment with like Professor Arnold Barrett stuff. There are a lot of practitioners that deal with like protein and vitamins and calories and all that stuff. And what I'm not telling you not to follow those theories, absolutely not. But what I do encourage is that people seek out the literature that first introduced those theories into the world. The literature from nutrition based thinking that first introduced the idea of calories, because people obviously didn't think in terms of calories forever. Like that's a newer idea. The concept of protein is from the 1800s. It's not that old. So read the literature that first introduced these theories into the world, but do one even better. Read the literature before it that inspired, that ultimately led to the creation of some of the ideas that are so core to nutrition based thinking. And the main reason I voiced this in the first place, because I know I might receive pushback, is because I do believe that these theories can cause unnecessary problems and suffering when they're applied to one's actual practice of the mucus diet healing system. I'm not talking about like just the theoretical, like you're just sitting there. It's like, oh, but metabolism, if I take the metabolism perspective and I put it in the mucus diet healing system, that should work. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like when you're actually practicing the mucus diet healing system, where you're actually making decisions which will affect your body. When you try to apply these theories, I usually just witness unnecessary suffering or a really inefficient practice that doesn't need to be as hard and is usually just not that fun, at least from my outside view. I could be totally wrong. And personally, like when you study the foundation of the mucus diet healing system, where it functions from, um, and you realize like it's entirely different from nutrition. It like that separation just happens effortlessly. So with that being said, to like actually give the mucus diet healing system a shot, like really, really, really do it as Eric intended, you're going to have to let go of a lot of ways of thinking that nutrition-based thinking taught as absolute truths. Um, and I'm not saying we're the absolute truth. I'm not. That's not the whole point. The entire point of this was just to compare. The reason why I'm spending so much time on the mucus diet perspective is because I know people have spent their entire life here. And when you spend decades, a lifetime, thinking in a certain way, an opposing argument, especially when one is like solidified at the core of your being, is not going to be received as easily. And usually needs to be explained a bit more because there's going to be so many questions because all the questions are going to be coming from here. But again, you have to take them out of this box and show them this. So again, I'm not saying we're absolute truth. I'm just trying to show you that we're a different perspective because this is a different perspective. This is an explanation for the observer of the world. So is this. But what I am saying, though, is that we are different. Like we are different from nutrition-based thinking. And people will think they understand the mucus diet healing system. But if you even read lesson 1, I mean, lesson 1, Eric says very clearly, like there's certain things you have to let go of to actually be able to practice the mucus diet healing system as intended. He doesn't, like when I say mucus diet healing system, people hear the word diet. And so they start thinking about just like food, right? They miss the word system, and that's okay. Like diet is the most familiar word out of the 4 words I just did. It's easiest to make sense of what I'm saying. Eric doesn't talk about food until lesson 15. So if you want to think of chapters, there's so many chapters before the guy even talks about food. And you'd be like, why is he taking so long to get to the point? Just tell me what to eat. Until you understand that the removal of obstruction is what we believe leads to better health. Not eating the best foods directly results into better health, which is how most people think. You're just not going to practice the mucus diet healing system in the right way. Because the nuance here is that eating does not directly result in better health. Let me say that one more time. Eating does not directly result in better health. So you're telling me not to eat? No. Because the way that we eat actually helps remove obstruction. And that removal of obstruction is what we believe results in better health. Again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not telling you what to do. And I made that very clear in the beginning. I'm just sharing and articulating different perspectives. So there's a very specific way that you eat where you combine less harmful foods like fruits and vegetables. There's this specific way that you combine them. There's a specific way that you space your meals out. Then when you do that, you really help the body eliminate obstruction, remove obstruction. And I mean, man, just like read the first 5 lessons of the book. Like it's a science to learn how to do that. That's why there's 15 lessons before he even talks about food. And so when you sink your teeth into those first 5 lessons of the book, especially legendary lesson 5, the greatest piece of literature ever written. I mean, Eric's pen, Eric's hand was just coursing with divine inspiration as he was writing. Lesson 5, the formula of life. That lesson, ladies and gentlemen, the first time I like really read it, because I read it, I didn't really read it. The first time I really read it, I was the shift lead at the juice bar. I sent everyone home early because I wanted to read this lesson because I read through the book for the 3rd time. And in this book, I think it tells you 13 times. If you don't understand something, go read lesson 5. 13 times. All right, so I got to the 13th time. And it was like, hey, yeah, if you don't understand this, read lesson 5. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to read this book anymore. I'm going to read lesson 5. I'm going to read it so slow that I will literally have integrated it into my being. So I never have to read it again. All right, so that's my mindset. So I send everyone home, clean up the store, lock the door. Just one light, and it's just shining on this table. I sit down, take my backpack, put everything out. You know, it's like kind of like a strip mall, so people are moving, they can see me. Pull out mucus diet healing system, boom, slam it on the table. Lesson 5, formula of life. Ladies and gentlemen, I read that word for word slower than I've ever read anything else. As I started to read it, and I started to actually understand what Eric was trying to tell me in this lesson, it's even happening now. The hairs on my arm started to stand on end. I started getting excited. I started getting in a state of awe, in a state of shock and awe. My heartbeat like actually increased. My palms were sweating because I had done so much self-experimentation. I've literally sent myself to the hospital experimenting with different natural diets and stuff like that. I accrued a lot of experience, and I came to my own conclusions. And he was taking these conclusions and he was making connections I'd never made before. And what he was laying out was revolutionary. It literally changed my life. It's one of the most important points of my life. That moment that I shared with myself at that store that I worked at for years, at that table. It's the reason why I'm in front of you. I mean, it's the reason that I devoured Professor Spira's over 800 video public library for a year straight. I literally just like one earbud every day because I wanted to understand more about this. This one thing was so mind-boggling. It's like, wait a second. Let me understand this full thing. It's the reason that I'm working mucus-free life. It's the reason like I've given my entire life to it. Is that one lesson. But you won't understand that lesson. You won't understand it in its entirety until you let go of this nutrition-based thinking. Because again, Eric's perspective, it's fundamentally different. It doesn't exist in the same box, in the same universe as nutrition diet. I'm not saying that it's better, I'm saying it's different. And so we got a bit away from the main point. But in short, the reason why there's no one size fits all diet that consistently produces better health from the perspective of the mucus diet healing system is because your unique internal body conditions is different. Your body is literally different. The way that your body deals with the obstructions that you introduce into your body is different. And the way, and that special combination of obstructions you have in your body and the tendency your body has when it comes to how it deals with obstructions, as food goes into your body, it's going to react to that unique combination entirely differently. The way that your body even deals with that obstruction is different. So you need to eat in a very specific way. Now, we're not just going to toss you the best foods because we come from a different perspective. But yeah, that is, in short, mucusless diet healing system. See, you got Karen that says, what the food encounters when it enters the body, the state of the body's obstruction can be fulfilled. Well explained. Appreciate you, Karen. You are great. So now you have a little bit of an announcement, and seriously, shout out, Karen. You've been one of the coolest people ever for the longest time. So if you are at all in any shape or form interested in the mucus diet healing system, if anything that I said resonated with you, we have another round of our transition diet bootcamp coming up. So let me actually pull up a little something for you. Let me give you a little visual to look at here. But the transition diet is essentially the foundational piece for the mucusless diet healing system. Let me pull this up real fast. Thank you for your patience. Where is this at? No way. There it is. All right. And you guys can't see that. That's awesome. All right. Well, it was a valiant effort. Things. Yeah, that's just how the cookie crumbles. So anyway, pull up these notes. So if any of this resonated with you, I highly recommend that you check out our transition diet bootcamp. So transition diet is basically the essential, unskippable foundation of the mucus diet healing system. It is the art of transitioning your diet away from the most harmful foods on the planet by using less harmful foods. Basically, it's like learning how to actually eat from the perspective of the mucus diet healing system. It normally takes a person decades to figure out how to actually eat when they're all done. Sorry, not not when they're all done. When they're all alone, and they only have the mucus diet healing system book to guide them. At Mucus Free Life, we want to give you decades worth of progress in just 30 days. And so, how will we be able to fulfill this promise? Well, there's going to be zero guesswork on your end when it comes to creating your menu plans. Because we have trained practitioners, you understand the internal conditions, we understand how your body is going to respond to, how your body is going to react when certain foods are put into that mixture of obstruction. And you'll be interacting with a very experienced mucus diet healing system practitioner almost every day. So Professor Spiro, the world's leading expert in the practice, he has a protege, Brady Liu. And when it comes to coaching people in the practice of the mucus diet healing system, he's the next one up. And he'll provide extremely clear and concise advice on what you need to do to correct your eating. Again, it's all just recommendations. He leaves notes on your menu plans. It's awesome. Freaking love it. I'm currently going through it right now. So the education you'll receive it's unbelievably practical. Like there's zero fluff. Everything you learn in this course are things that successful long-term practitioners of this practice actually know, except that it took them decades to even become aware of some of these practices. And you'll be learning things in the first 7 days of your practice and developing an understanding of them with infinitely less friction and stress compared to those long-term practitioners who had to scour the internet, books, and so on to find any information they could about some of these topics. But for you, completely streamlined, handed to you on a silver platter. And you will be among some of the first to experience the Transition Diet 101 course. So those visuals that I use throughout this live stream, those are actually from the very first video in the Transition Diet 101 course. So that course, to put it simply, it'll teach you exactly how to eat at a beginner level. It will teach you the skills necessary so you can pick the best produce every time you walk into the grocery store. So you never spend a dime on fruits and vegetables, which tastes like crap ever again. It will also teach you how to grocery shop so you only spend 1 or 2 hours a week buying food. At most 3. Whew, now we're pushing it. It has around 20 impossible to mess up recipes of food that are so delicious, you'll wish you had a second stomach. And I'm saying that because I made a lot of them and I really do wish I had a second stomach. Some of those are the zucchini Alfredo, delicious. Talking garlic bread, almond flour tortillas. I got some in my fridge right now. And I'm talking fries that have eaten in a very specific way, which we teach you in the course, will not only satiate you, scratch that itch, feel good now, but it'll help you have great balance. Yes, fries. Sounds outlandish. I promise the course will deliver. Because everything in this course, everything in this bootcamp, the methods, the recipes, they've all been rigorously field tested for years. And as I mentioned with the fries, we're going to teach you how to eat. Literally the order of how to eat the food in your meals. Information you cannot find anywhere else on the internet. I promise you literally can't. And once you hear it, you'll be like, yeah, never ever would have thought about that. So that you can dramatically increase the frequency of your bowel movements. So that things like poop being stuck in your colon become a thing of the past. Might be TMI, but 2 to 3 bowel movements a day is normal for us, especially for me. Yes, 2 to 3 bowel movements a day, not a week, a day. And from my experience, any practitioner of the mucusless diet healing system who is consistently eating how we believe you are supposed to eat, not telling you to change how you eat, but how we believe you're supposed to eat, they're liberated from poop getting stuck in their colon. So if that sparked any of y'all's interest and you want to learn how to have a solid practice of this liberating information, I'm going to drop an email. I'm sorry, not an email. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. Let's go to Facebook, pull that up. Bam. There we go. All right. And then we go to YouTube. Kind of messed up. There we go. We go to YouTube and drop that on in the chat as well. You guys can just sign up for this newsletter and from there, you guys can learn when we open up our doors for the Transition Diet Bootcamp. So anyways, I hope you guys saw a new perspective on the human body. I hope you guys understand why a one-size diet why there's no one-size diet fits all that'll consistently produce better health. And I hope you guys were able to take this information and come to your own conclusion as to why this is the case, why there's no one-size-fits-all diet. And I hope you guys have new theories that will help you along your health journey. I'm getting real tired, real hungry. So I think I'm going to shut it down. Thank you for everyone that popped up. Had a lot of fun preparing for this. But yeah, I will see you guys later.